Possible GTA suspect here now, 4730 Crystal Springs Drive, in the parking lot above the merry-go-round. Two males, no further description, adding striping to a black Cadillac four-door.
They're playing my song
vehicle license, Utah,
on a Monday.
California, Paul William Nora 011.
Woo.
Code 2 incident 3196.
Man.
Wall Street, that's additional to 11 in progress, 1818 Southwest Mullen Boulevard, 1818 Southwest Mullen Boulevard.
1507 Metro, all units, 1507 is following a company separate vehicle, 770 Regal 2-door. He is on the southbound Harbor Freeway from the Hollywood Freeway. It is a
where you at?
Regal 227.
Tell me where you're from.
Southwest units, all units, citizen reports, officer needs help.
George is in the house.
West Martin Luther King Boulevard. Citizen reports, officer needs help.
Woo.
3742 West Martin Luther King
Monks
Boulevard.
is in the house tonight. What? Oh. And Josh Diaz from the lab. Lab rats. Show me the lab rats. Show me the monksters. Good times tonight, everybody. Put your seatbelts on. If you haven't subscribed to their channels yet, get it done. It's going to be down in the links as well. MONKS Intrigue and Josh Diaz. They're in the house tonight. Does it get any better than this? For a Monday evening. Wow. Thank you so much for everybody being here tonight. Man, oh man, have we got a program for you. So without further ado, let's get on with this. And we got MONKS Intrigue. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, good to see you, Chris.
And then, of course, we got Josh from the lab.
Hey, how's it going?
The doctor himself is in the house. It's great to see you guys. Man, I'm so appreciative that you're taking some time out here for this guy here to talk about Nancy Guthrie. And you know, I'm gonna get into it tonight. Where I have to be honest. You know, Monks, I've been watching you, you know, for the last couple of months anyway, and I thought, man, this guy is a very out of the box thinker, and a very yeah, exactly, and he's humble. But he's a smart dude, I can tell. And I saw that in Josh a long time ago, but, you know, he doesn't hold that against me. So hopefully you won't either. But I really like the way you think. And, you know, you've had some theories. You've had some, you know, I love your style, you know, just hanging out in the backyard with a microphone and just talking to the world. And is this type of platform, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, YouTube, like I've told you backstage, I am actually an introvert by nature. I pretty much shy away from big groups. If I were to go on vacation, I want to know that it's on an off day and nobody's on vacation. And yeah, so yeah, talking to a camera, I can do that. But a situation like this, I am a little bit nervous, but I'm pretty sure you guys have been really great to me. You know,
You're still
Josh has been really cool. He has glasses too today. So
Yeah.
I think we all feel good.
You're
Yeah.
still nervous?
A little bit.
You're
Yeah.
shaking.
Well, I got Toki here. If anybody wants to see Toki, she's hiding in a basket, but
She,
she's there somewhere.
She's an introvert.
in a
She,
basket.
she's just as shy as I am. So
That's awesome. Well, so Josh, what's up with you? How are your Giants doing?
I mean, they're doing okay now. They're a little bit better. I'm not as upset as I was a couple weeks ago, but I woke up with a cold this morning. It's really annoying. I haven't had a cold in like 3 years, and but I woke up with a little bit of a cold. But I got the nasal spray, the eye drops, the tea. I'm good to go. I'm gonna maintain through it.
Okay. Get that Ricola in your buddy.
I got it.
And get the giant horn and, stand in your backyard and let it roll. Let it roll.
wow,
So,
there was an echo.
yeah. Okay. So, Monks, one of the videos that I think would be really interesting, I want to tell people about, is tell everybody about the one video where you have been able to isolate the suspect's eyes on the porch.
Oh yeah, that was actually a moment where the moment you hit invert, you start to see things a lot differently. You could actually see, I haven't done a video on it yet, but I do believe the FBI also has the wrong backpack. It is an Ozark backpack, but it isn't that model. And it was just the difference between the curvature of the water bottle holder. Maybe I'm being too nitpicky. Maybe it doesn't matter. But I obsess over these things. And I've watched that inverted video back and forth, back and forth. Now, there are some instances that he may have blunk. Is that a word? Blunk?
It is tonight.
Okay, good.
Right.
I'm amongst friends. So, yeah, so I do believe, but we can't confirm that. So that's why I said this guy never blinks. But there's artifacts in the videos. And if that infrared vision at night, that pitch black, causes shoelaces to not even be seen, I'm not sure we're seeing a blink as well. So I leave that on the table. I'm never trying to say that he didn't blink, because of course he's gonna blink, but he's pretty much honed in and focused. And there's something artificial about that eyes. Now, there's a term that I just learned, and it's called uncanny valley. Have you guys heard that term? It's become more prevalent because of AI and robots or whatnot. But when you look at something and you just know something is wrong, that they're not human, that is uncanny valley. And when I look at his eyes, and I'm not going to say that he's not human, but I think there's something wrong with those eyes. That's what I'm trying to say. It's being altered in a way, because this guy is smart. No matter what they say about him, we haven't caught him. He is smart. He knows his eyes are going to be exposed. I'm thinking he's using some type of something as simple as tape to tape up his eyebrows. He's going to be furrowed the whole time. So, did I just go off on a tangent? You were asking me about inverted eyes. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, you're cool. It's there's a part in the video where as soon as he hits the porch, you pointed it out, that it looks like initially everybody's thinking his gaze is to the left and he's looking through the side window or, something to that effect, right? But in reality, when he gets close to the porch, you can clearly see his eyes are looking at the camera.
Yeah, where his pupils are going. And that is called the bright eye effect. And that is the same thing. Yeah.
How were you able to do that? And what came to you that caused you to do that?
I've seen people invert the images to see. One commenter said, if I can go and invert the gloves, because there's one image of the glove which has particles on it, and she thought it was blood. And she said, please go invert the gloves and see if that's blood. And I don't think it's blood. I think it's just lint or something sticking. They're rubber gloves. So once that occurred, I just inverted the whole video and just watched it back and forth. And I go, wow, that picture is from the FBI, that still thumbnail, where everybody thought he was looking at the security door, which it turns out he was actually turned towards the security door, but attention on the camera, which is very odd. It's kind of some type of odd behavior, because that camera is glowing like Christmas lights in that pitch black. So that is very odd behavior, I would think. So that's why it made me feel like it was leaning towards this guy is putting on a performance for us, because that Nest camera, if you ever been near one of those, it's not hard to rip off, even with your hands. You could punch it if you want and it's coming off. But this guy had to go through this whole series of picking up shrubberies, and I don't know what he was doing, but uncanny valley, right? Something's off here. Yeah.
Do you think that he knew that this footage would be seen eventually?
That goes back to the January, or should I say, quote unquote, January 11th thumbnail, a date previous that he's been on that porch before, where you can clearly see he has different shoes. He doesn't have, oh, those shoes are Skechers. I'm sure you guys seen that video too. I'm almost 100% sure those are Skechers. They might be off-brand Skechers or knockoffs or something, but those are technically Skechers from Walmart. And a lot of people have said that those are, they have seen Walmart sell knockoffs. I've Googled it and they do sell knockoffs. I haven't seen that design just yet. I wish I would be able to find them. What was your question, Josh?
My question was, do you think that he would have known that he would eventually, this footage would have came out, and so
I think he did. I think he did. If anything, if this was staged, he did everything just like that night panned out to be. He would have had, if he had a Wi-Fi jammer, he would have used a Wi-Fi jammer, and he would have known that that Nest camera was going to upload after Wi-Fi comes back. So yeah, that run is identical to the main run, I think. So
do you think it was a Wi-Fi? Because I look at it and I see a walkie-talkie, because Wi-Fi jammers typically have about 4 or 5 antennas on them, and they block different frequencies, 4G, 5G, other things. And so I've never seen a Wi-Fi jammer with one antenna that blocks all frequencies. I've never seen that.
Oh no, you are right. You are perfectly right. And that thing in his pocket is a walkie-talkie, because the Wi-Fi jammer he's going to use is going to be at least medium grade, which is 200 feet radius, which is going to knock out that neighbor's one camera. It's going to knock out the nearby neighbor over on this side. And they reported I don't know if they reported a complete outage, but their stuff went wonky as well. There's nothing to explain that. And we know that a Nest camera now, the difference between a Nest and a Ring is that the Nest has internal storage and will immediately upload once Wi-Fi is back, whereas the neighbors, all their neighbors have Rings, did not upload anything. All it said was not available. That really sounds like a Wi-Fi jammer sitting in that car wherever he parked it. 200 feet is basically to your neighbor. Like I was explaining what 100 feet is. 100 feet is basically a typical American neighborhood. From your doorstep across the street to your neighbor's doorstep is roughly 100 feet, to get an idea.
Lay out 10 basketball hoops on the ground.
What was that?
Lay 10 basketball hoops on the ground. You have 100 feet. You just take 10.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it could have been in his backpack too.
Yeah, it could have been in his backpack. And I read that. I've researched that as well. That thing will heat up like no other. So if you put in a backpack, it may even die if you had it no ventilation for the jammer.
You would need a
jammer.
Right. You're right.
You're right.
So let's. I want to pick your brain so that the audience really appreciates when they go over to your channel and they watch some of the minutia details, the way you lay it out, because you know you're very analytical, but there's a reason for that, obviously, and it probably either people have it or they don't have it. I mean, it's a gift, and so some folks are able to, yeah, exactly.
Stop embarrassing our guests.
Yes.
Well,
Cut it out, Chris.
yeah, you know,
Chris, you're very handsome,
well,
and you pick very
I'm
nice clothes. And
I'm very honest in terms of what I see and when I see it. And you have a gift. I mean, there's, you know, Linda from It's a Crime. I don't know if you've ever knew her. She also has a gift. She has the ability to connect dots. And this is one of the things we talk about all the time, you know, with investigators. It's like, we don't have all the answers. Sometimes there's somebody with a better idea. And you have to be humble enough, or at least open and receptive enough to say, hey, you know, I saw this guy at MONKS Intrigue. He's got some really interesting stuff. Now, is it all going to be right? I don't know. Am I going to be right? I have no idea. Is Josh or whoever, when the list just goes on. Okay. But where I'm going with this is this idea that says, okay, what brought you to this point? And you gave me a little insight into your background and stuff, but I know you don't share that too, you know, with the public, and I'm not going to press you there, but share with the public with what you feel comfortable about that makes Monk who he is, in order to see what he sees. Now, I asked Josh this question a long time ago, and then he told me about his circumstances in his life. Okay. So I'm going to ask you that question. Tell me a little bit about that part of your life. And
okay. Well, my career in law enforcement started in 1976 in El Paso. And now I'm going to be very honest. I had a few infractions.
you know,
Did you ever have a flashlight incident in 1982?
I can't remember anything. It's been 40 years. And when I went to Pima County, I forgot everything. When I wrote my resume, that's not my fault. I'm pretty sure. What makes me me pretty much is I guess I tend to obsess over things. It's not healthy for me, but that's why we're able to see or find these things. And I interact with my comment section a lot. I think if you go there, you see a lot of hearts and whatnot, because they give me, you know, that spark, you know, to jump with an idea or whatnot. So yeah, I would never take credit for everything I do. And I try to give as much credit to the commenters, because they have a lot of good ideas as well. So obsession, that's all.
okay. Do you, when you create in your thought process, where does that come from? Where's your creative side come from?
Oh yeah. Well, I am an artist by trade. I guess I'll share that much. Oil painter, and I've sold art internationally. So landscapes and characters or whatnot. I've always gravitated more towards, I don't know, darker types of art. Not like the good dark or anything like that. It's just, it has more emotion. Like, I'll give you an example. One of my works was called Childhood's End, and it was a portrait of a child shooting an arrow at a teddy bear. There, perfect example.
Okay.
Well, you got that out of me, Chris, and I think that's yeah.
So you see detail.
I do.
Yeah. During your training, or as you've been training yourself, and you've been training your eye, for lack of a better term, right? Kind of like a musician who trains their ear. Okay?
I never thought of it that way. Wow. Okay. And that's why you are who you are, Chris.
Well,
That's
you know, they slapped my mother when I was born, so that should give you a little heads up.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
so I'll just give you give you a little warning. But so this idea that when you were training yourself, you know, in your, when did you first discover you had that talent of art as an artist?
Oh, since a kid, I guess I have that generic story. I don't want to sound cheesy, but yeah, ever since a kid, maybe 5, I guess, I just picked up a pencil and just never stopped. I remember I painted a Voltron. No, not a Voltron, a Transformer. I painted Optimus Prime, but I started from the legs up and I didn't have space for the head. That was a devastating day for a kindergartner, I'm telling you. You made me share again, Chris. I don't get it. I really am in the interview room right now. I get it.
Okay, so I'm just, because this is really important for the audience to understand, because when they go to see your stuff, and you know, like Josh, when they go to Josh's channel and they listen to him, he's able to teach with authenticity from the voice that he has, his inner voice. And you have the same thing that's going on, but it expresses itself through the meticulous obsession that you've described yourself as, you know, minutia details. So you see these things, okay, and you see them first visually, and then of course, you know, appear in the imagination, but then you look for it, and then there it is, and you're able to connect those dots. Okay, you would be a really good crime analyst. You would, you know, you because you have that ability to connect sequences, and they not only in color, but also visually, and then you're able to make it make sense. You take chaos, i.e., you see something out in the wild, and you can either, because most artists have this ability, you can either paint that chaos and it will still be chaos, or you can organize that chaos and it looks, you know, appealing to the viewer. Okay. Am I off base there?
No. This is just how I am when I take something that's positive about me. I don't digest it well, I guess you could say, but I appreciate it, Chris. Your observations are very detailed as well.
Well, you know, you're the greatest gift you'll ever give, and the greatest exercise you'll ever do is lift somebody else up. Okay, and you do that because you know, I've been watching you, like I said, and you know, one of my gifts is to watch and see things like the next person. Okay, but I don't have that artistic painting gift in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I can't even color in the lines, okay, with the, you know, the numbers.
I believe that too.
Just ask Josh. And soon you'll be like, yeah, I get that about him. You know, now. So, okay, so let's get back. Now that we've got I've got a better understanding, and I thank you so much. I really appreciate you helping me understand you even further, but more importantly, the audience, because in all sincerity, I really do want them, you know, to feel that when they go over there, that you have put so much work into this, and that's an important thing, especially because you're doing it for the right reasons, and the right reasons, the whole reason we're having this broadcast tonight, is Miss Guthrie here. And Josh, so let me ask you, Josh, what are your theories, you know, from your perch there? What do you think is going on here in the Nancy Guthrie case?
Well, I think that I think that, first of all, I think it's sort of an investigative mess at this point because of all the internal fighting with Pima County. I said this the other day. I'll say it again. I am convinced that Chris Nanos used this opportunity as a political stepping stone and slipped on it and fell face first. And because he thought this was going to get solved, and it's just fast. He thought it was going to, and he was going to go, look what I did, look what I did. And, here we are. And now you see him being quiet because he's been exposed. A lot of things have been exposed about him. But I think that there are hardworking people on this case that will eventually get it done. My one concern is that they're putting all their eggs in this DNA basket. I am concerned about that because if this comes up nothing, I'm worried that the DNA could turn out to be inconclusive, and that they're kind of relying on the DNA, but I hope that I'm wrong. But as far as the case goes, I think it's just I think that you have infighting between agencies, who's in charge, who's not in charge, and now you have a sheriff who is under siege and has made everything more complicated, either intentionally or through negligence, and neither one of them are good.
Fair enough. Monks, what say you?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And Nanos has done, I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but I've touched on it before. The first time I saw the press conference for Nancy Guthrie where Nanos did it by himself, there was just something so off-putting about him. He was very short with everybody, and he just kind of like next, and he would make these jokes that are not funny, and I don't know. And it turned out to be kind of one of those things that panned out. Like he was actually kind of a bozo, right? And given that all these things have come out about him, I can't imagine why he hasn't retired or something, I'll
tell you why, because that's not in his DNA. That's not who he is. He's one of those people. He goes until the wheels fall off. He's done nothing wrong. He has never done anything in his mind. And there's the only thing that's going to force him out is either a vote or the board. Otherwise, he's not leaving. Yeah, and I read that they just bumped up the salary of the Pima County Sheriff position to $120,000 from $100,000. I'm sure he doesn't want to leave that on the table as well. But I can't imagine what he's thinking, how he would win. Well, like you said, right? He's never wrong. So we don't understand that type. He's been doing it and getting away with it for years, and this is the most exposure he's ever had on him. So he's probably not going to get out of this one unscathed like he has before, but he's sure as hell going to try. Yeah.
So sure. Are you guys worried about that DNA is going to be the only thing that's going to resolve this particular?
I am.
Are you?
You are. I don't even think about the DNA at all, because I feel like any DNA they're going to find in that house is supposed to be in that house, if that jives. And also, I think what it comes down to in a case like this, because I do believe it's multiple culprits, there is a weakest link in that chain there. And
so let's talk about that for a minute. Out of the three of us, Josh, you think there's more than one?
I do. Yeah, I think 2 to 3.
Monks,
probably
2 to 3.
Okay, I say there's more than one for sure. A minimum of 2, maybe 3. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're all on the same page, and there is one in there that is just rolling with the punches, so to speak. And
Well, Dr. Picado describes it as, the chef and the waiters.
Yeah.
The chef's behind the curtain somewhere. I call him the wizard. Dr. Picado calls him the chef. And, it's like the flying monkeys in the Wizard of Oz. Remember where they all fly out with the Wicked Witch? So it's that kind of scenario. So let's talk about the sophistication of that. But more importantly, let's talk about the brother and the sister-in-law, or excuse me, the sister and the brother-in-law just for a second. Okay. Everybody's been hammering me, Chris, you're not letting the family go or anything like that. No, I'm not saying that the family has done this. What I'm saying is we cannot take that off of the plate just yet, just because the sheriff said what he said. That guy is a liar. We proved it last night. He just lied to the board of supervisors. Okay. There is no question about that. I can say that because it's the truth. And if he wants to sue me, get in line. Okay. Because I've had a lot of people try it. Okay. And now where I'm going with this is she's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know your opinion if you've even looked at her artwork. And if so, what say you about that depth?
She's more of a poet. I think the depth of her art is her jewelry that she used to make, I believe, and she did it out of a warehouse in Tucson. I don't know if it's defunct, the business, yet, but I've touched on a past video that when you call yourself a creative, I forgot what the exact term was, but it was one of those fandangled terms where a fast food worker is a food specialist. Right. And so she had one of those labels, which reminded me of that, which also makes me believe that she is not bringing in the bread. When I tried to go to her Etsy shop, because she used to have one, that's gone. She used to have a website, that's gone. And maybe because of this case, maybe she doesn't want the publicity of it all. But I can't see where she's making income. And I don't know if you guys ever check the Pima County tax website.
Yeah, they're behind.
They are behind, and I'm waiting for May 1st because they are going to go into delinquency and get slapped with 16% yearly. So I don't think they want that, but I can't imagine why that would ever happen to the sister of Savannah Guthrie, unless they exhausted all the kindness of Savannah to the point where,
sometimes
there's no more helping hand.
Sometimes people get fed. I mean, we don't know the family dynamic. We don't know
Exactly.
the relationship between Savannah and her sister. Maybe as the investigation goes on, if that's the way it goes, then we will. But I don't think all is, I don't think all is well and good.
As what Savannah says. Yeah.
So she's more of a poet. And did you do any other background in relationship to that side of her personality that you could kind of connect to? You know what I mean? From your artistic abilities?
I tried to connect to her. Her book, one book is on jewelry, one book is called The Good Dark, and that is poems. And it has about 3 reviews on Amazon, so there's no success coming from that book as well. I read one of her poems, and it was hard to understand. I think you'd really have to be on the inside to understand what Annie is writing about, or maybe I'm just not deep enough to understand it. But you get the idea that it's coming from kind of like, it's morose. It's not happy. Let's just put it that way. So I'm sure she's battling with some demons like everybody does. But more so, I feel she is. But if you think about the dynamics, okay, this is just from a third person perspective. You got Cameron, who is a retired Air Force. He's pretty established. Savannah, obviously established. And then you have Annie. And you can't say much. Now, maybe because she hasn't revealed much, but that's why we can't say much. You know, that can breed a lot of resentment if, like, the matriarch of your family might say a good word about the other, because there's nothing more hurtful, I think, than favoritism in family, right? So, yeah, no, it's coming from a dark place. It's really hard to understand. And she gave an interview once about her jewelry. I remember reading, I can't remember the site, but she did name off her favorite poets, and she made sure to mention Tommaso being her greatest teacher. And
Oh, that's an interesting. What do you read into that?
I feel like she felt she needed to. That just may be my read on it, because he's such a deep thinker, as what she said, a great manifester, which I don't know what that means. Like I've said before, one of the things she said is he lives his life like a poem, something like that. But I feel like she felt she needed to give him, you know, his flowers when she's talking about all these established writers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's in a band and he's a school teacher. So I don't know.
Interesting, though. That's an interesting insight, Josh. What do you think to what Monks is?
I sort of agree when he's talking about the established nature of Brother and Savannah. It kind of reminds me, and I don't know if people are familiar with his Monks. I don't know if you've seen the show The Sopranos before, but for some reason, Annie sort of reminds me of Tony's sister Janice, who moves to Seattle and does beading and things like that, and everybody's always telling her to get a real job and all this kind of stuff, and they're coming from Tony Soprano, who's a mobster, is funny, but I sort of get that she's kind of the wayward kid and maybe a little bit of the black sheep. And I got to tell you that if this was my sister who was the caretaker, and I'm not putting the blame on them, but I would be pretty upset with my sister for something like this happening on their watch. Not saying they could stop it, not saying that, but there would be hard feelings. I would be upset, and I just would, and I think that's possible.
What's your guys' take about the card that was dropped down at the memorial here?
The card that said something about ashes?
Yes.
Blowing in the wind. That's dark. I mean, that's Annie. I'm not sure why she felt the need to be poetic at a time when she could just offer her love, and I don't know.
Did you?
Do you think
she's odd? I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's just she's different, and right. a lot of people fancy themselves a free spirit. I'm telling you, that's the vibe that I get from her, and which is completely different than what you get from Cameron and Savannah.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's shift gears for a moment. The son-in-law is he was the last person to see his mother-in-law on the earth, because he dropped her off according to the timeline at whatever time it was, 10:58 or 10:40. And he's kind of a musician. He's also he teaches biology, I believe. What's your read on the fact that he's been underground for the last 86 days?
Very odd. I can't think of anybody else who ever did something like that. Like, not even come out and plea, at least being the last person to see her alive. And if you were the greatest caretaker, yeah, you would want to do everything in your power. You would be out there searching the hills and the anywhere. But to go radio silent for up until that picture you just showed of them walking in front of Nancy's house, to you feel like he was avoiding cameras just enough time for something to change.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I think he was waiting for a time where he felt that maybe he looked normal enough.
Well, it felt staged.
It did feel weird.
Very planned to me.
They hugged way too much. That was just oversharing. And he was hiding the whole time. That's why I feel she is hurting, I think, but she can't do anything about it. You know, kind of.
Even in this picture here, you can see where, he's overpowering her. I mean, and to your point, where she's been hiding. But I mean, just this picture in of itself it just felt like, they're coming down the walkway there. They got flowers. She's got a card that she's prepared. And then, I mean, when you listen to the audio, I mean, she's just lost it in that audio. Yeah. Don't misunderstand. I don't want to get beat up by the chat, but at the same time, let's just be honest, where you're going to put a card down there knowing within a minute and a half, you walking back up your driveway, mass media is going to storm that card, and it's going to be all over the world within 2 minutes. And that's exactly what happened. So it was almost like, okay, this wasn't a private moment. It's like putting the wreath on the unknown soldier in Arlington. Okay. It just felt like it. Well, go ahead.
Do you think that this could have been the moment that Savannah was like, look, I'm going to try and take some heat off of them for everything that's, and so she is kind of in lockstep with them. Let's do this. Look, I every time, when Savannah was in Arizona and the FBI or Pima County or whoever kept searching their house, how could you not turn to your brother?
Five times, by the way.
How could you not turn to your brother-in-law or your sister and go, why do they keep going back to your house? Why do they have your car? Why do they have your car? Why are they at your house again? I mean, that is a question that I would be asking. I don't think it's out of bounds. I really don't.
And we don't know if she hasn't asked that, right?
I agree.
Right. We don't know if she kind of is going, well, wait a minute. They didn't impound my car. They didn't, yada, yada. And the list goes on. But that was one of the first things I said in the very beginning of this thing is, why are you impounding the daughter-in-law's car, the daughter of the missing victims? What
for a long time,
40 something days. And I've heard different people say, well, they had to take it apart and all this. Okay, fine. You can do that in a day. And remember, law enforcement's a 24-hour operation.
Right.
If they want that data, they're going to get that data and they're going to get it fast. And they have whole teams that come in that can disassemble a car. And typically what we do is we just throw all the parts back in the vehicle and say, book it into evidence, give it a number. Because that way, when the defense wants to see it, they don't have to take the car apart again. It's already disassembled. But in this case, they reassembled it. They sent it down, to a Chevy dealer, and they reassembled it, and then they gave it back. So if they did get data, it doesn't necessarily mean it proved anything. For all we know, they didn't even use that car because they also impounded Nancy's car as well. So we don't, one thing we know, that car wasn't torn apart and reassembled. That's interesting in of itself.
Yeah. And we also have to remember that they didn't impound it until days after.
Correct.
So they could have did anything in the meantime, possibly.
Right.
So
that,
Chris, that's a question for you. Is so that's the car that she was dropped off in, allegedly, or that's what's being said, that Tommaso dropped her off, which there was some confusion on that as well at the beginning. First it was Annie and Tommaso, then it was Tommaso, just Tommaso, and then then the sheriff gives this timeline, and he gets nailed for that because it's weird. It's not really a good timeline, but he nails himself down with this timeline. Is that standard to impound the car just because that's where she was taken home with? Like, is that because that's the last car she was in?
reportedly so.
Yeah, not necessarily though. I mean, right? I mean, just
what would you have just on a whim? Would you take somebody's car like that?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
no. I mean, you have to have you have to have probable cause. Once you impound it, you have to have a reason to search it. What are you looking for? Number one, to impound it. That's the first question we always need to ask. The government just can't come over and say, "Hey, we saw some weeds up here on this video, so we're going to take your entire front lawn."
Right.
Right? Just in case. And it's the same principle. If somebody, and in this case, we have the family saying, yes, we drove her home. And remember, first it was just the two of them drove her home.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Remember, Monks and Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Then it changed to just Tommaso drove her home.
Right.
And then we have the sheriff in front of the house, the very first press conference, saying, yes, the family was in the house. They watched her in the house.
Yep.
And then that changed to, well, we have data from the garage door opening at 9:48 and closing 9:50. And everybody's scratching their head going, well, did he take her in? An 84-year-old woman that, can barely make it to the mailbox now that we understand that. But somehow she's able to just shuffle her way into the house. And then we're to believe that she arbitrarily leaves all of her doors open in the back of the house, but has 4 lock mechanisms on the front door in the front of the house. It doesn't make sense, right? So, which leads me into my next thought process with you guys is, Monks, let's talk about that guy on the front porch. What were the observations that jumped out at you? And then Josh, chime in on that one.
Yes. I know exactly what I felt when I first saw the perpetrator, that he is wearing many layers of clothes. The first thing that I looked at, I go, he's trying to hide like his frame or whatnot. It might be because he has a very, unique frame of sorts. I also noticed once he goes for the camera, and this is just something I keep looking at for myself. I've never mentioned it, but he does not have much of a forehead. He has a forehead, but there's one angle where you can see that it's like squared off. I wish I could.
3-head, Monk. That's what they call it.
A 3-head. Yes. Exactly. So that's something I noticed. And the glove felt baggy. I remember feeling that. And I felt like he moved like an old man. And the way he tried to cover, in the beginning, I felt he was trying to cover the camera until I realized he's actually laying his right hand on top of the Nest camera. From that point, I believe with just some strength, he could rip that. It's just a strong magnet on that Nest camera. So this is all this fiddling with the nest thing, I feel is just for show in that sense. And then he goes and picks shrubs to potentially what a lot of people said he was going to use it to yank it out, use the vines to find a crevice and then yank it out. I don't see that happening. Everything was like on top. Like, why was it on top if he's trying to yank it from the back? So I don't buy that one. I don't buy that he's trying to cover it either. I'm not sure really what he's trying to do at that point, except some type of red herring or something. And the gun is so obvious. It's like, I know some people wear a gun like that, but that felt ostentatious. Like, I'm a gunman. When he walks on that scene, I'm a gunman, right? This is an armed robbery of some sort, armed kidnapping. I want you to know that. I'm walking in front of a doorbell camera that I have no business walking in front of, because if I'm the same guy from January 11th, I already know there's a security gate on this door. Barring not having any power tools and risking waking up the neighbors, I am not getting in that front door. I known this since a month or a couple weeks back. Why am I showing up at the front door again? Right? Cameras don't record you unless you step in front of it. So that was my observation. But I interrupted Josh, I believe.
No, you didn't interrupt me. I was just saying that I thought that he was just trying to cover it and it didn't work.
Yeah, it appeared that way, and I think he meant for it to appear that way, like he's fumbling something.
But what would be the point of that? Signal?
It's the signal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nobody is somebody watching those cameras. I mean, you know.
Well, I think he knows that the camera will eventually upload. I'm pretty sure he's done all his research on what a Nest camera can do. So he probably knows that this footage is going to go up to the cloud. Now, I don't know how he's going to know that Google can recover it since they don't have a subscription. But there is another alternative theory that I have for that as well, and that is Nancy is coming out that front door. So we just need a few more pieces, I think, to make this make sense.
So I want to show you the video that you're talking about here. I'm going to play it, and you make a good point.
See how flat his head is.
So, whoops. Oh, sorry, I just hit the wrong button. Hit it again. When I go to pause it, keeps flipping over. Hang on. All right. Give this a whirl. So is this the part where you're saying you think he's going to eventually, because his hand does open up, and you think he can just grab that and pull it off the wall, right?
I think we can. I think he can. With a Nest camera, the way it's attached, he could just punch it if he wanted.
Okay. Sorry, it's not you guys. Trust me.
Well, I just want to say he's very gentle with the camera. I mean, he's fiddling around with it like it's some type of like it's screwed to the wall, which it's not. So I'm not sure why he would be so gentle. If this was an actual guy that wanted to make that camera go away, he's gonna hit it. He's gonna smack it. He has a gun in his holster. Take it out and just give it a good smack. That thing's coming off. Why is he so gentle with the camera? I'm thinking this is for show. See, he's laying his hand on the camera. So.
And I know some people have asked me to play your thing, but I want them to go to your channel and actually watch the entire video because it's really, really interesting. And so everybody, you're going to, when we're done here, go to Monk's channel. It's MONKS Intrigue. His link is down below. And you can watch the video where he has isolated the eyes of the suspect coming up onto the porch. Okay. That is really important because it's going to be a photograph that I'm going to show you here in a second. It's this photo that it looks like the suspect's looking through the side window, but in reality, his pupils are on the camera.
Yep.
And when I saw it, I thought, okay, I got to have this guy on. That was the moment I thought, okay, you know, because I'm the kind of guy like you. I lay low in the background, okay, and I take it all in and I try to learn. But this was something that was completely out of the box, and I was so impressed with it. And you know, it was really good work. That's what I will tell you. It was good work.
Thank you.
Because guys like me depend on good work like that and others. And hopefully the sheriff is paying attention to what you did here. So explain it a little bit better than I just did, what you actually were able to isolate.
Well, I just basically inverted because of the bright pupil effect, which is what the infrared is going to do to your eye. It actually shoots that infrared into, it has to be a human eye. It's made for the structure of a human eye, and it bounces back white to the camera. That's why in all the pictures you see that the perp's pupils are white. So when you invert that, it becomes black, and it's way more easy to see exactly what this guy is looking at. And that particular picture that you have up, many people have generated colorful AI depictions of this, right? To try to figure out his race, to try to figure out whatever's, but their eyes, even AI thinks this guy is looking at the door, but it's just a simple inversion of the colors. And you realize he's looking right at that camera, meaning his whole attention is on that camera, because how can it not be? That thing is glowing in that darkness. So that move where he's trying to, looks like he's going to knock on the door. And then it looks like, oh, wait a minute, there's a camera. No, there's no way. He's already known that camera's been there. I can't explain it truly, but.
Well, I think you pointed that out because the moment he hits the porch, Josh, have you seen this video yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. We're going to have to go. You're going to have to go over there and check it out because first of all, what's the name of the video? I forget which one it was.
It's inverted.
Is that the name?
The thumbnail is called Inverted. The things that I realized, the title is the things that I've realized watching the video Inverted, something like that. But it's pretty obvious which video it is. You know.
Okay. And so, Josh, what happens is the moment he hits the porch, Monk has been able to isolate his pupils, the suspect's pupils. And you can clearly see that as he's walking even to the left, he's looking to the right in this video. And it's like the creepiest thing because it changes the thought process of this guy on the porch. And it makes you think, wait a minute, that this, is this a game here? And is this a piece of the puzzle? Because I've always asked the question, and I'm going to show you one picture. I've always asked the question, when he's looking to the left and then he grabs the weeds.
Look at the cat.
Huh?
That cat scared me.
Oh, why didn't he just grab the Christmas wreath hanging on the porch to the left? Why do you have to reach over and grab the weeds? Go ahead, Josh.
I was thinking about that too, but so there is an actual, there is a tool, like a release tool for Nest cameras. And he may have been trying to use a branch to like a stick from under there, because you have to go underneath it with the little key tool. And it's a quick release type thing. Now you can pull it off. And I think maybe either he was trying to cover it or maybe he was trying to, put the stick up there and get it out. But whatever he didn't work. And then he yanked it.
Yeah. We also have to remember, Josh, he knows the camera's there. If he's going to come back again, from the previous night, he would have brought maybe a screwdriver or something, I feel. he knows it's there. That's the problem. That's why it's a paradox.
But I don't. But I don't know if they thought that they were going to have to go out the front. And
Right.
You go around the front, get rid of the camera out there. He could have very well been aware of the camera. They just may not have planned to go out the front. So then they say,
Exactly.
hey, you go around the front, get the camera out of there, because whoever it is may have already surveilled the place. They surveyed it, and it's got to go.
Yeah, I had one theory that went exactly that route, and I would actually like to hear how you think that would have went down, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You're asking me?
Both of you. I'd love to hear theories. I could listen all day. Yeah.
Josh, you start.
Well, basically, I think that they had planned on, and you're just asking what happened and why they ended up doing what they did.
Right.
I think that they had planned to go through the back, take her out the back. Something went wrong. She became incapacitated, or they, she recognized who was doing this, and they couldn't leave her. And I think that they obviously, she was bleeding at some point, so they had to go through the front. They had the back propped open. Now, last time I was talking about this, people were saying, well, nobody was barking. The dog wasn't barking. It was just acting weird. I've heard the dog was barking, the next door neighbor's dog, and that could have been a deterrent for the back as well. Or maybe they just really, really needed to hurry up the process and get out the front. That's why they sent the backpack guy, porch guy, as he's being called, to the front, because they knew there was a camera out there, and that's why they were going to go through the back. That's why the doors were propped open, and they were propped open when I believe everybody showed up. So I think it didn't go exactly as planned, but I think that they were very aware that there was a camera out front, and I think that they were aware of its capabilities, which makes me wonder how, if they knew that maybe that it wasn't being used to the capacity that it could be, that would be inside information, and that makes me question things too. So
Right. Yeah. How about you, Chris? How would you see that going down?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you have to take into consideration, which we talk about all the time over here, what kind of victim risk is she in? Right? That's always the first question that a suspect asks. How am I going to accomplish this crime effectively without putting myself at risk? That's what suspects do. I've interviewed tens of thousands of them. So you have to look through the lens of how does that individual lower their risk? Okay. Everything that the suspect did, if the 11th and the 24th are in play, that is a high risk activity, because they're exposing themselves to not only neighborhood cameras one time, but multiple times. Who would do that is the first question. And if in fact that's what happened, then that tells us a little bit about the intellectual level of this person, or that person blends into the neighborhood and nobody would think anything of it. Okay. If you woke up at the next morning at 8 a.m. and you look on your phone and you had a Ring camera activation, and you go, oh, it's Frank walking his dog. Okay. Nobody would think anything of that. Now, if you see Frank at 3 o'clock in the morning around this time of the year, where it's 30 degrees out, it is the desert, and people forget that the desert gets very cold. And Frank's all dressed up with the Ralph Crandom outfit, like Dr. Mercado describes him, okay, with the old spaghetti strainer on the head and, et cetera. But in this case, he's got the thick gloves, multiple, layers of clothing, et cetera. again, the neighbor would go, oh, it's Ralph. No big deal. So that's the first thing we have to consider. Now, the second thing then is we have to weigh into, what's the environment, situation, circumstance that the victim is in. Well, she's 84. She's in her house. She's in her bedroom, and she's sound asleep. All low risk. Everything is low risk.
Mhm.
So that tells us then that the perpetrator has a familiarity either with the house and or the victim or the circle around that victim. Friends, families, relationships, acquaintances, etc. Okay? And they were comfortable enough to come back multiple times. And to your point, Monks, to get various photographs of themselves, one, without the gun, without the backpack, and then the other that we know of on the porch. They weren't worried about that. They weren't concerned about that in any way, shape, or form. So this is somebody who is extremely comfortable and has probably been to that house multiple times. And this is why this timeline, in my mind, is critical. Because we have data points. And the first thing I pointed out months ago was we're missing data points for the next morning when the family goes over to discover Nancy missing. Okay. Now they may have them, but they may not line up with the initial story. And so that's a red flag because they made it a point to tell the public, the sheriff did in a press conference, that at 9:48 a garage door opened and at 9:50 a garage door closed. Okay. So then the narrative changes the next morning. The garage door, we're to believe, is no longer in play as a point of entry into Nancy Guthrie's home, at least for the family. So this is where what we would call victimology comes in. It's extremely important to get what they call patterns of life. How does the family typically get into the house when they come visit Nancy? Does she meet them at the door, in the front door? If so, how's that work? Does she open the garage door, et cetera? Do they have apps on their phone that can open the garage doors? Do they have clickers? Do they have keys? All of those things. And who has access to all of those items? Does the pool man, does he reach over the gate? How's he get in? Those kind of things. So that's when you start listening very carefully to the conversation when the first officer gets on the scene that morning. Because the entire narrative at this point has been through Annie and the son-in-law. Whether the public wants to embrace that or not, that's what the cops were operating off of. They said, we got a phone call from her girlfriends that said she did not come to church. And so immediately we ran over here. And the first question anybody in their right mind is going to do or ask is, when did you last see her? And if so, what time? What happened? Yada, yada. And that's where the information now starts to get pushed out on, well, the doors were open. We thought it was a medical incident. And, you start hearing that narrative. Okay. So for me, I have problems right now with this narrative on the screen. Primarily the first two pieces of this puzzle, 9:48 and 9:50. Because we can definitely say at 5:45, that an Uber driver picked her up, if that person's been interviewed, and dropped her off over at the house. If that's on video, which hopefully it is, or at least they got that guy locked into a statement, we can say, okay, that's a factual piece of evidence in the narrative. That is an eyewitness testimony that could come and say, at 5:45 p.m., I picked up Miss Guthrie. Okay. The only other factual conversation about that incident is the data point for the garage door at 9:48 p.m., and then it closes at 9:50. So one has to logically ask, well, how did they get in the house the next morning? Why didn't they? And then the next question is, why didn't you use the garage door? You have access to the garage door, and let those answers come, whatever they are. Because somebody had access to it the night before. Either Nancy had it on her phone, the app to open her garage, or the brother-in-law had it on his phone to open the garage, and they have those data points. And then you have to say, okay, well, I'm going to stop there for a moment and then ask you about, do you think the flower pots are really in play here at the doors? And if so, why?
The flower pots to prop open the doors?
Yeah. I mean, we've only heard that from Savannah, right? And didn't she say that on the Today Show, or where did we hear that?
Yeah, she's a weird interview with Hoda.
Okay, so
Yeah,
she did say that?
Yeah.
Right?
She said doors were propped open. I'm not sure she said what they were propped with in that interview. That the pot was, I think, came from Banfield. The flower pot part.
Okay, so let's take the flower pots off of the table for a moment, and let's just listen to Savannah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second piece of that conversation, if I recall, and keep me honest here, is the conversation about, we thought there was a medical event or something like that. Maybe the paramedics propped the door open.
Right.
Okay. So the first question that popped in my head when I heard that is, who made the first 911 call?
That's supposed to be Annie.
Right. But for that to have been a scenario, it would have had to have been Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy would have had to be the one to call.
At
For the medical emergency. Right.
Nobody else was there.
Right. Well, so we know that's not what went down. Go ahead, Josh. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying that nobody else was supposed to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and so I hope that kind of answers, what you were asking me. Now I want to hear what your thoughts are. And there's a lot more that we can check into this, okay, as we go along. So right now we're up to the house at 9:50 p.m. in my mind.
9:50 p.m.
That's the last proof of life.
Well, at the same time, I guess we could ask, is that the last proof of life? Or did somebody with a garage door app, which if a garage door can timestamp like that, that is an app. I don't think my garage door can do that because it's more analog. Right? You go in there and push a button. So anybody could open those garage doors for those 2 minutes from anywhere if you have the app. I would like to ask you guys a question about the actual security device in terms of events. I had a video called Events, and it's basically about what security cameras would alert you with. And the fact that you have an 84-year-old mother that could fall down at any point. And so you'd want to keep, an eye on her. Now, I don't know if there's cameras inside the house. People been talking about it, but I haven't confirmed that there were I don't know if you guys have confirmed. Do you guys know if there's cameras inside the house?
I've heard that there were, but I don't know
The
that.
sheriff said early on that there were cameras in the home.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, in terms of those events, yeah, go ahead.
He's also said a lot of stuff, so who
Right.
knows?
Yeah, and so we got to take that with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Based on what we know about him right now.
Right. So in terms of those events, I would think if you are the greatest caretaker, you also would have that app installed on your phone. And the way these cameras work now, if you have a Nest, if you have a Ring, even if you have an off-brand like the one I have, which actually records everything into internal memory and my phone, and doesn't need a subscription. But with theirs, it does the exact same thing mine does. It shows an event. It gives you a thumbnail of what is going on and why it's alerting you. That's why it's called an event. So where are these events? We know that Nanos must know, because he's the timestamps that he's giving you are events from those cameras. And those events will tell you where this event is happening as well. Front door camera, side camera, however they labeled it. It'll tell you camera 1, 2, 3. Where is this event coming from? It doesn't just tell you somebody's lingering. It'll tell you somebody's lingering at your front door.
Yeah,
And so he's not telling us that part. And I feel, and there has to be, if they got into Nancy's phone, which it looks like they did, a plethora of events to look through, which also leads me to believe that the culprit might have gotten into her phone because he knows how this works and deleted all those events.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, I haven't been able to completely.
A little bit more. Why do you feel? Why do you feel that? What brings you there internally?
In terms of events?
Yeah. I mean, what brings you there that he would have deleted them?
Because he knows that he is on those events, and like the front camera, he doesn't care about, but it's possibly the events, those side cameras or whatever. That might have caught the car. It might have caught two culprits. It might have caught, now there is a camera in that backyard. It might have caught whoever it was propping open that door. That camera, I assume, would catch it, but those back doors that were propped open is kind of hidden off in the side. So there are events in there that are missing, unless they are not showing us, I think. So those have always troubled me, these events. And another part is, yeah, your family member would have the same events on their phone. And from what I could tell, the culprit's not erasing their stuff, right? So why are you not showing these events to the police? Or do you not have the app on your phone for your 84-year-old mother to keep an eye on her? So that's a little perplexing when you think about, those events.
Okay.
I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Not only that, I mean, I'm perplexed that she didn't have a life alert. It makes no sense to me. How would these all she would have to do, as soon as they came in, if they woke her up and she was startled, she just puts her hand right here, presses the button, they could rip it off of her. It's too late. They're on their way. How do they know that she didn't have one?
Yeah,
and especially somebody who has walking issues, that can fall and lives by themselves at any given moment, can fall, hurt themselves. It makes no sense to me.
The greatest caretakers, right? So.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it just, the more that comes out, absolutely not. And, I think a lot of that is, a lot of ignorance is bliss. I think that nobody wants to believe that there's been, negligence or, just stupidity or whatever it is. And, nobody wants to believe that their family isn't doing what they're supposed to do, especially when, they're the ones that are being the caretakers. Now it's not odd that a 84-year-old woman would want to live alone.
Mhm.
But it is odd that there weren't more safeguards in place. And whoever did this knew that. They knew that there were lapses all
Right.
over.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
That's it. It's just this whole, was it obviously this is no random strange event. I mean, I think we all agree on that. But also there is somebody had intimate details.
1,000%. And this is so rare that they don't even have statistics on it.
Right.
That's how rare this is. There are thousands of statistics in relationship to the elderly being attacked and assaulted, et cetera. But most of those are SA in nature. They're not, you don't kidnap 84-year-old women out of the house
No.
and then say, by the way, I need a Bitcoin payment plan. I need 4 million today and don't worry about it. I'll kick in 6 on Friday. If you can't hit me on Friday, hit me up on Monday for an 8. Okay. That makes no sense. Number one. So I've always felt that noise is just that, it's noise. Now, do I believe it could be related? Because, Savannah believes it's related. The FBI thinks it may be related, but we haven't had the FBI come out and say it's related. Okay, we've had Savannah saying, I believe, or I want to believe that it's related. Well, okay, I believe in the Easter Bunny. Okay, but that doesn't mean he's going to drop eggs. So
You believe in the Easter Bunny?
I still do.
Okay.
That said,
That's respect right there.
Thank you.
I got some bad news for you, Chris.
Give me a bump.
I got some bad news for you too, monks.
Right. Random Easter Bunny. But okay, yeah, but so let's get into the reality of stuff like this, where you go, okay, I think one of the other reasons I really like your channel, Monks, is because you've slowed everything down, and that's a critical element of this. Okay, and I'm assuming that's because you're an artist, you're a painter. So you see details and then you have to transfer that in your mind to the canvas. Okay. And that takes a lot of patience to make that happen. Okay. And people with that kind of patience see things that other people don't see.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So if we just say, okay, let's just stop this thing for a moment and say, okay, well, let's look through the perpetrator's mind for a moment. Here's the back door propped open. Okay, in this particular picture, you can see the screen there. Okay. So we have to say to ourselves, okay, if in fact the suspect had left these doors propped open like this door pulling out, the other door pulling in, because it's a left-hand swing going from the outside in. So you have both doors going in opposite directions. One goes this way and one goes that way. Okay. Now, if we transfer that principle to the front door, that it's the opposite. You have to pull in for a left-hand swing, left to right, and then you have to push out, okay, through that screen door, but you have to go, left to right, going that way. So they're opposites of each other.
Right.
So now we have to think to ourselves, okay, first of all, one of the first questions I've wanted asked or answered from the very beginning of this whole thing, and Josh remembers I released it on his show about the locks. What did the family say? What did Annie and Tommaso tell the police about the lock mechanism on the front door? Meaning, if they were searching for mom, which they said they were, one would expect if they got to the front door, if they found it open in the front door, not the back door, that would be a big deal. Okay? Actually, that would probably be a huge deal, you would think. And then when you get to the screen door, if that deadbolt is open, that in of itself is even a bigger deal. And you would think that when the cops got there, immediately you would say, mom's missing, blood's on the front porch, back door's propped open, the front doors were left open. Okay. But we haven't heard that. What we have heard is the back doors were left open. Okay. And then the narrative was, well, that's her habit, to leave the back doors open. Okay. I'm not buying that one for an 84-year-old mom who lost her husband when their daughter was 16, and she's been living on her own for many years with many people coming and going in that place. I think her girlfriends, the very first thing they would have said is she would have said, yeah, you know, I need to tell you, I heard some noises. I got hold of a security company, because remember, she did that recently. And remember, she was trying to look into a security system.
Yeah. 2021.
Yeah. So within the last 5 years, are we to believe that now she has forgotten all of that and decided to leave all of her back doors open? Okay. I find that rather hinky. I don't know. What say you guys?
I find that family saying that, I feel like they didn't need to say that, because if they got in through the back door, they got in through the back door. They could pick a lock. But for the family to say that the back doors were, like, she usually left the back doors unopened, is kind of a convenient alibi for the kidnappers. Like, why would you do that? You know, and for you to know that she left her back doors open all the time, are you the one reminding her all the time to lock it? Or
that's what should have been happening.
That's
right.
a point.
Yeah. I don't believe that either. I mean, I think, yeah, if you know that she's leaving the back doors open, you got to lock your doors. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, you take care of your grandma.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how many years have you been taking care of your grandmother?
Since 2012 now. When my grandfather passed away, she was 70. I think she was 71 at the time.
How old is she now?
She's 82.
And you take her to doctor appointments, because I've caught you in the phone with her in the car and said, hi, Grandma.
Yeah.
You drive her all over the place.
I do.
If you found out your grandma was leaving her back doors open, what would you say to her?
It's happened before where, like, you know, it's one of those things, like the door always stays locked. Is your life, like, when I'm not here, when I'm not around her, you know, do you have your life alert? Make sure all the doors and windows are locked. It's pretty standard stuff, man. I mean, you know, somebody comes up to the door, you know, she used to say, well, you know, when my grandson gets back, he'll give you a call or things like that. I think that it's, I don't know. I tend to have a lot of problems with the way that maybe Nancy was being looked after, but I hate to pass judgment, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So if we look at this back door here, this is on her back patio. Again, 2 more locks. So she not only forgets to lock 1 lock, she forgets to lock 2 locks. Again, this is pattern of life, habits. And if that door was left open, okay, that means both locks were left open. If this was the door that was propped open, now we can surmise that it was probably the kitchen door, but this door would have made a lot more sense to take her out of, because it's closer to her bedroom. this one that we're looking at, you can see the top of the deadbolt just barely, and then the lock mechanism and the handle. So I've had a challenge with the locks on this house like I have with the garage door opener time frame. The minutia details really are important to pay attention to, which leads me into the last lane I want to explore with you guys tonight. And by the way, there are almost 11,000, there's 10,000 people here. So everybody get over to MONKS Intrigue and the lab and hit their subscribe button. Okay, let's take their channels to the next level. Okay, let's be good citizens, good friends, and let's hit that subscribe button over there for both of them. They work hard, they deserve it. Okay.
What if I lose subscribers? That'd be pretty funny.
If you lost subscribers, it's because of me. So I apologize.
Okay. I'll send you the bill.
That's okay. Give me another fist. Okay, we're good. Josh lost subscribers because of me. And by the way, their links to their channels are in the link, in the description below. Okay, that said, what about this guy in LA? Monks, what's your read on that dude? And then Josh chime in on this.
I've done, I feel, a pretty extensive search on this fella. Derek C, right? And he's been kind of a troll from the instances I've found. There was a missing woman back in the day. It was something I just touched upon. Her name was Kobayashi. She got on a plane and she went missing. Her family couldn't find her. And it turns out that she went to Mexico so that she could do this fake marriage with this guy from Argentina so that she could make $15,000. Okay. Then back home, everybody was looking for her. They had no clue her dad was out there, and her dad committed suicide. That was the tragedy of this case. He jumped off a garage, and then shortly after that, she shows back up in the US, and the whole thing was exposed that she was doing this fake marriage for a green card for this fella in Argentina. And I went into the Reddit section of Kobayashi. I can't remember her first name, but lo and behold, I find Derek Kalela in those Reddit threads. And they were, what was that, Chris?
Brave for going into the Reddit section.
I said, no way that he's in there. Go ahead.
Yes. Sometimes Reddit is very good and very bad at the same time. But their information they had on him was that the guy from Argentina that wanted this marriage license, it never went through. She scammed him out of $15,000. She never went through with the marriage. So the guy was angry, and he's still stuck in Mexico at this point. And Derek is related to Mexico. And for some reason, he found out about this story and messaged that fella from Argentina directly, some troll-like message. And the Reddit threads completely honed in on this guy, went to his Facebook, found out that he was Derek C, and that he was a troll. So he likes to taunt victims. Okay, so that's his personality, I'm getting a sense of. And this was a decade ago, say. And when we heard about him again in the Nancy Guthrie case, Hannah Kobayashi, thank you, YouTube bad actors. And when we meet him again, he's doing something that appears very trollish again. He calls Annie and Tommaso each directly And well, he texts them, and then he calls either Tommaso or Annie. We're not sure, I think, and asks them for Bitcoin. But he doesn't ask them for Bitcoin. He just wonders what's going on with the transaction, which is a very odd way to demand Bitcoin, right? It's always been very troubling, this character. And he is connected to Tucson because he's played a show there because of his band. Anybody remember his band's name? Mutilator. Something Mutilator.
Yeah, they play very like death metal type. You know.
Yes. And
Go ahead.
I don't know how much to believe. What was that, Josh?
No, Mutilator. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not just Mutilator, it's something Mutilator, but it's death metal, like you say. And he is connected to Tucson via a promoter named Mojito. Secret Mutilator, that's right.
Thank you, chat.
Right. And then he is connected to them in that way. And then Mojito plays at the Firefly back in 2017, which is also the exact same club that Early Black plays in. And that club at the time was a
Early
goth club.
Tell the audience who Early Black is.
Oh, yeah. Early Black is Tommaso's band.
Okay, go ahead.
And they also play punk rock, I believe. So they were all connected in the same scene in that manner. Whether it means anything, we don't know. But they do have a connection, and the mind-blowing part, of course, is Derek Colella being connected to Tucson, of all places. So, yeah, I guess we make of that as we will. Not sure what to make of it at this point. That we can say, at least. So,
well, that is pretty fascinating, Josh. What do you think?
I just, when I read the, you're talking about the guy in LA with the indictment.
Hawthorne, yeah.
What I don't understand about that is, like, they said that he just randomly Googled Annie and Tommaso's names and got their.
That's what he said.
I mean, did you try to do that, Monks? Was that possible?
Yeah, it's not that easy. You have to be in type of some network or something to be able to do this. So, yeah, I don't think I could find any of your numbers just by putting your name in. I don't think. I hope not. Right.
Google would not do that. You would have to get some. You would have to pay for some sort of like Intellis or it's like a $30 subscription a month. And maybe the information's accurate, maybe it's not. But it almost seemed like the messages. It felt like he it's like he knew them. It felt like he knew who they were, or that they had been in the same sort of circles. I don't. Go ahead.
The issue is that, right? The connection is there. If we could ever find any more connections of it. But the main problem I have with Derek C is, yeah, you're a troll, but why would you ever insert yourself into something like this? Especially when you have priors. And he was dealing with a $10,000 embezzlement of the government at the time.
Right.
Why would you insert yourself into this national headline news in that manner? Nothing good is going to come of it. Is it that funny? Is he laughing right now? Did he make anybody laugh? So
that's a solid point. Absolutely solid point. I've asked the same thing. Internally, it's like, well, wait a minute. Why is this guy thrusting himself into the Lindbergh baby kidnapping?
Yeah.
And why would he think that they had any money to pay?
Yeah, those two, right? Exactly. Well, there you go, Josh. Yeah.
And that's what we're all saying here. It's like, well, he's asking about the transaction. He's asked the question, did you get the Bitcoin?
Right.
That's not like, give me the Bitcoin. I asked for 6 million, whatever. That's like, did you get something? And then the cops go over and they hit the gas station behind the house there.
The Circle K.
The Circle K. And they're looking for somebody to show up. So that means they got a, we'll just call it a tracking number. Okay.
Yeah, well, a lot of those places like that have Bitcoin ATMs.
Yes.
And you can go there and pull money out that way.
Right. So if there was a small deposit of sort that we're not aware of, and then all of a sudden that started to move, meaning somebody signed in to try to even pull it, they're sitting up on that thing and they're waiting for it because they went over and they pulled that video from that gas station. I would love to go interview that clerk and say, hey, what did the PD pull from you?
Right.
And what was on it?
Are
they allowed to talk after?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they're not bound by anything, any gag orders. Police can't tell them not to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and it'd be interesting to hear what the clerk says.
They can ask them not to, but that doesn't mean they have to.
Yeah.
I know somebody that would be very interesting to talk to. And I've been calling for this a long time, hoping someday they'll show up in the chat or something, but it's the Uber driver. Yeah. To me, it is very important to know where he picked Nancy up from her house. If he picked her up from her house, maybe she was at a friend's house. Maybe that's why no one could pick her up that day, because she was out of the way. But a lot of people believe that she did go into the garage. But I've also shown that the garage has this incline, right? Someone in the chat pointed that out to me, and I was just blown away. There is a pretty steep incline up her garage, as well as another step into her house. That doesn't look any better than her front door, which is closer to her bedroom. So if he picked her up on those front steps where we see the porch guy from, that is her preferred method of entry and exit. If he picked her up at the garage, then it gives more plausibility to what family is saying how she entered that night at 9:48. So I really wish this fella or lady would talk. Now that you say there's no gag order, right? If we could find this person, where did you pick her up? That's all we want to know.
Yeah, not on civilians, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're not part of the investigation. Now, what typically happens, Monks, is the cops will say, hey, so we don't compromise the investigation, we'd appreciate it. We'd like to ask your cooperation if you wouldn't talk to the media or anything like that. But that's completely up to the citizen to say yes or no. Yeah, 1,000%. So good point.
Quick, Chris, I want to ask Monks a question. What do you think about the 2 minutes to get into the garage?
Not with that incline. Yeah, I really don't think so. Because then you'd have to picture family is outside, barring that they didn't just drive directly into the garage. We don't know that.
You think it'd take longer?
I would think it would take Nancy more than 2 minutes if Tommaso is just parked parallel to the garage, and she had to. Depends on when she opens the garage, right? If she has an app, I'm assuming she's opening that garage the moment they hit the driveway. Is she going to press buttons on her garage to open it then? I don't think so. So that garage is opened before she even gets out of the car, I would think.
They could have sat there for a minute and talked about something.
Right.
We don't know if there was a deep discussion going on or not.
Yeah. I don't know how far we want to go into this. I mean, there's a lot of people that theorize that she never made it past Annie's house that night. I don't subscribe to that.
That's always a theory in every case when somebody gets dropped off somewhere. If there's no solid concrete evidence, there will always be that question. So I'm not perplexed by that question. It's a fair question to ask, but it's always, did this person ever actually make it to the destination that was said by the person that dropped them off, the last person to see them alive, basically. So there's a lot of people that believe that, yes. And they're always in every investigation.
And another thing to consider is, remember, her car is in the garage. So she has to, manage that piece of it as well, to your point, Monks, about the incline. So either he has to somehow get her up over that incline and or escort her over that incline. But if, let's say, he partially pulls into the garage now, remember, her car's on the right side, so there's not much space for her to get out of that car.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at 84. And once she's out, that means the door, the passenger door, has to be closed. So she has to close that door to make it past that car if they pulled into the garage. In that scenario, the second scenario, to your point, if he left it on the driveway facing the garage, that means the headlights are illuminating the interior of that garage. And still, that gravel, that incline, she's got a lot of different, environments that she has to manipulate. Not saying she can't do it, but we're also told on one side of the coin, on a good day, she could barely make it to the mailbox, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's at the front of her house. So, okay, at the end of a day, coming from the family at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, maybe she's a little tired. I don't know. I don't want to go too far on a limb there, but the fact is, I'm not convinced that she even went through that garage. And that's where the data point comes in for the next morning. Why don't we know how they got in? They are holding that so close to the chest. And that's usually not a good sign when they don't tell you right up front. Well, when the family got here, they went into the back door because it was wide open.
Right.
Okay. We're not hearing that. Okay. Any other thoughts as we go through here?
I just love having you around, Chris, to be honest.
You're awesome.
Your years of homicide work, I find so fascinating. I feel like I need to pick your brain more.
Well, we don't get invited to very many dinner parties. Let me put it to you that way. My wife, my Karen, will be like, don't go there. You're very kind. But, in all sincerity, though, I've been watching your work, and I have to give you a compliment and tell you I've been impressed with your thought process, and keep it up. Don't this is a start of a friendship here, and we just we let it take its course, and the people are going to say what they're going to say whenever this thing finishes up. But I don't think I can take anybody off of the plate yet. Personally, I'm not. I can take Cameron off, and I can take Savannah off the plate, 1,000%. One's in New York and one is in Vermont, or wherever they were. And so I'm very comfortable saying that.
Right.
But I don't know about the other pieces of these puzzles yet. There's got to be a nexus somewhere in that house. You 84-year-old women just do not disappear. They don't disappear. And, we'll figure it out together in terms of what we can with the information that we have. And if we're wrong, that's okay too. The good thing is we all tried, and we're trying for Miss Nancy, and hopefully that will resolve itself. So
I have something for you, Chris. What do you think about the verbiage immaculate? How they found her house? Do you find that problematic?
Very.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've been working on a kind of a theory. My latest video is about that. It's about the blood spatter, and which we didn't touch on the blood spatter. I believe it's in the title. It was in the thumbnail. Maybe we should touch on it just briefly.
Sure. Let's talk about it. What are your thoughts?
I think that is. I'm not sure about the blood spatter of a sneeze. I don't know if it would create the same effect pattern as that. But when you have a high resolution of that picture and you invert that picture, you actually see that the spatter, the little bits of blood actually spreads actually pretty wide. I would assume some are even on that step there and near the door. So that feels to me that she started coughing or sneezing or whatever's. What do they call that? Expirating as she's going down, and then one last violent cough when she's on the floor. And then there's that piece of blood that everybody's talking about. It looks like an Under Armour logo, as people have been saying, but I really don't think that's a footprint, because if that's a footprint, there's going to be another one somewhere. As saturated as that bit is, I think that's the guy's glove picking Nancy up. So
all those are possibilities for me, but my thinking is, and I thought she was coming out of the house and she fell.
Okay.
And that she landed halfway in the house, halfway on the patio. And the blood that you see there, the aspiration, is what we would call a fixed, aspiration blood, just what it is. Okay. It's what they call a high velocity. So it's like this, like that. Okay. And because what happens is the particles get smaller, the higher the velocity. Okay. And when it hits the ground, that's what they call satellite blood, where it's blood hitting within blood, and it now satellites out. And so you start looking for tails in relationship to which way it's traveling. And in this case, you don't really have that. We have what they call 90-degree droplets, which is somebody had to be either standing or an object or something. It could be blood dripping off of something. It could be blood coming from the nose, from the mouth, ears, face, etc. Head wounds bleed. You would have a lot more blood if she had a major head wound here.
Right.
The armor or tennis shoe pattern thing that you're talking about could be a tennis shoe. I would also not dismiss the bottom of a cane of some sort. So if we found like the rubber, most of them are round in nature, but there are odd canes as well that may have a pattern transfer. That, let's say, the suspect is trying to lift her up and she's using the bottom of that cane to get up. But you see, that's a lot more blood than the other parts. You'll notice that. Okay. So that means that blood in of itself is stationary a lot longer. So that would mean an item is standing in a bigger, a bigger puddle somewhere. Okay. And you would expect to see that, though, coming from the house. So that's kind of an anomaly in of itself. So it very well could be from his glove or something to that effect, because it would be contained, leaving the house on that item. Let's say he slapped her, okay, hypothetically, and she fell. Okay. Well, he would have to have touched a major source of blood by trying to get her up, and then he could have leaned down to push himself up, okay, and transfer that from the edge of the glove that you're thinking there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so that's not something that we could take off the table. Okay, that's just and what you would want to do in a case like this, you would want to have these pictures available. And as you're interviewing the suspect, the subject, whoever it is, when you get to this point, you want to put that in front of them and say, help me understand this. What were you doing? Okay. Because, there's going to be 10,000, interpretations of this, but the consistency interpretation is if there's saliva in that aspiration, then we know for sure it came from her lungs. Okay? And internal. And that means she could have an internal chest injury.
Well, that's the other thing is that, I mean, she was obviously, look, she's 84 years old. Her blood's on the front porch, but it's not just blood. There's signs of like she was in distress from that velocity, basically of an aspiration or a cough or it just.
If you punched an 84-year-old woman in the chest or the throat,
yeah,
you could get a problem like this.
Right. Especially on blood thinners. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is much more than just her arm.
Correct.
Where she has the bandage on her arm. Okay. Now the droplets could be that because she could be holding her arm down and that blood's going to travel down her fingers as almost like just think of a water park slide. When you get on the slide and the water's going down just think of the finger as the slide and the blood as the water.
Right.
Okay. That's going to go in it's going to travel to its lowest point and eventually it's going to drop off. And now it's, the air is going to take it and move it. But when it goes straight down like that, that means it's a stationary slide. The slide's not moving because it's going straight down and you're going to, it's like that gigantic slide where you lay there and you put your arms across your chest and they go, you ready? And then the bottom drops out. It's the same principle. Okay. And it just drops straight down.
Right.
And so the brush being over, I thought that was weird because obviously it's over the blood. It would be interesting to see in your ability if you could somehow illuminate this area, Monks, on the porch to see if that blood appears to be there when that guy is up there on the porch. If there's a way to figure that out, because then that will tell us, that will lean us more towards a staging element than an actual criminal, a crime occurring out on that porch, which would lead more into your thought process of this guy reaching up and pulling the camera off and it's just a game. Okay. As part of your thought process. I'm not saying that's what you're thinking all the way, but so keep both of those lanes open. Okay. In your mind, as you continue to dig through this stuff. So,
well, for both you guys, in what world would this be staged as well? If he was there with a syringe creating this because he understands blood patterns.
Well, I think a syringe would be much more difficult than, let's say, just a face cloth. If you took a regular face cloth and you were able to dip it into blood, you could actually create probably that pattern by throwing it down. And then you could pick it up and squeeze it. And then you could get the 90-degree drops as well. But you would need a lot of extra blood to do that. Okay? You would need blood to do that. And I'm not saying that's what happened here, for the chat, for the record. But these are the kind of things that are not real difficult. I mean, I've had cases where, it just looked like we call it DLR, doesn't look right. Okay. And, when you see things that stick out of that, they don't fit correctly.
I don't think it was staged.
Well, and I'm not saying that either, but I'm saying, is it a possibility? And the answer could be yes.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to keep an open mind on this, because you don't know. Now, if they have photographs of her coming, if they have video of her coming out of the front of that house, then they already know the answer.
Right.
They already know the answer, and we won't hear about that answer. Okay. But the fact that that debris is on top, that could have only occurred from one of two ways. We see him drop the debris in the video, and we see that it could have been blown there from wind. Those are the only two possibilities. Or the suspect kicked it. Well, why would he do that? Right? If he's on video with the weeds, why is he leaving the weeds? And how do the weeds end up on top of the blood? You know, and I talked about that the first week. I have a video of that. The very first week this thing went down, that was one of the first things I saw when Brian Enton put this up, you know, when he was out there, the journalist. So fascinating thought process, though. What else? What other thoughts you have on the blood?
Shouldn't there be blood on the shrubs?
Well, yes. Well, that's why the shrubs on top is the anomaly. It should be the other way around. And there is one place where the blood is on top. If you look right over here in the bottom left-hand corner, well, let's go to the right. Okay. There is one. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor moving?
No.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. So it's the bottom. It's okay. It's the bottom tile where the footprint looking thing is.
I see it now.
Okay. So now go up to about the 11 o'clock position, and you see a reed.
Right.
Can you see that reed?
Yeah.
Okay. If you zoom in, you see the other half of the reed, the top of the reed at the top. And there's a droplet of blood, it appears, on top of that reed.
Yeah, I can see it.
See that? Okay, that's problematic for me. Now you're going to have to zoom in, and you're going to have to do your magic, okay? And Josh, same way, and whoever else. If you just look at that, it does appear, and I can't tell though if that's a broken piece of reed or if it's an extension of the reed. These would have been the things that if I was the case agent, I would have leaned over and I would have said, give me all kinds of photographs of this. Okay, make as many as you want, put your ruler there. I want this broken down. The problem is so many people have been through this thing. And by the time we got this with Fox News, a defense attorney will have a field day. Okay, they'll have a field day. But if that blood was in existence and those reeds were first, what came first, okay, then that would build more of the theory she came out the door. If the blood was there first and the reeds came second, i.e. it's on top, so you have both sides of this coin there.
Yeah.
Sides of this coin. So it's kind of a two-edged sword, from an investigative analysis aspect. So we got to make sure that, we're following the evidence, that we're not filling the gaps because we want to. All right. 10,900 people, almost 11,000 people here, you guys. Again, hit Monk's channel, hit Josh's channel. If you haven't hit mine, I'd be so grateful if you could do that as well. And then if you hype these videos out, whatever, that's the latest thing, we'd appreciate that too. And by the way, we'll have him back, so don't worry. Monks, will you come back?
Of course. So I could pick your brain. Next time I'll have more questions.
Okay. I appreciate you, Josh. I know you'll be back too, my friend.
I'll come back.
And then, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. None of us could do any of what we do on our individual channels without you. You're the audience. Hopefully we're bringing you some good stuff. It's been a lot of fun having these two guys with us tonight, and something really cool. So I'm going to let you two jump, and then I'm going to go through, a couple of questions up there and then I'm going to jump off to Hawaii. Josh, did you want to say something?
Monks, it was really nice to meet you, to talk to you, and you should hop over on the lab sometime too. We could chop it up and have some fun too.
There you go.
Hey, that sounds like a plan. I like you too, Josh. So
Not as good looking as Chris, but
yeah, no one is. I don't think.
Yeah, you guys are living on faith, that's for sure. Because when they rolled me over and they saw my butt, they told my mother she had twins.
yeah, that's true.
So that said, we want to see some of your artwork next time. And again, I want to thank you guys. Last word, final word, Monks. Anything you want to say to your fans?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to anybody who is stopping by, throwing out hearts. It made me feel more comfortable seeing the cheerleading, I guess you could say, and calmed my nerves. I want to say hi to my wife. She's watching, and Toki is asleep, so I don't want to bother. Well, you guys can actually see her. I can move my phone.
Awesome.
There she is.
She's asleep.
What's up with the basket? They just sits in the basket. She sits in the basket.
That's a cat thing. If it's a box, a basket, they're going in, especially new ones. Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a cat in years. I have two Frenchies, but they act more like pigs than anything.
That's awesome. Well, I think you did great, my brother. You did very well. Very well. Josh, you want to say anything to your lab rats?
Hey, thanks for coming by and supporting me, Chris. Thanks for having me on, and it was really nice to get to meet you, Monks. And I just recently started hearing about you, and got a phone call from Chris, and I was like, sure, I'm in. Sounds fun. So
it was fun. Oh, it was good.
Okay, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pull you, drop you out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, there you have it, everybody. Is he awesome or what? The two of them. He's a smart dude. I will tell you that right now. He has some really interesting things. So seriously, make sure you guys get over there to his channel and subscribe, because you're not going to be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. And of course, I know you guys follow Josh, but this is awesome. So epic here. Monks is always on point. Interview room. Epic. Yes, I totally agree. 5 Divine. Julie, thank you so much for coming over here and supporting him. I think that went really, really well. Bananas might tell them they can't. We all seen his work. Amen to that. Crazy Beach 508. Thank you. That is a great point. Patriots Pride official. He said, did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That is a really interesting concept, isn't it? And yeah, that's been a problem from day one. Do you think someone was waiting for her inside? She never took her 10 p.m. medication, and with her medical condition, she's not going to miss that dose. You know, that's a great question. I don't know if she did make it inside, right? I mean, we don't have any evidence of it right now that she didn't. So we have to go with what we know publicly, but that's a great thought. 10K watching, only 1,000 likes. Hit the like and subscribe, people. Thank you, Katie. Definitely. Thank you for that shout out to people. He said, did you get the Bitcoin? Yes. Patriots Pride. Yes, I got you twice here, brother. Eddie Elite, in my opinion, guy on the 11th stage also. And Nancy Guthrie was supposed to see and report. So second event would be misdirected away from last to see her. Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for that comment. NG said on FB, wanted camera to watch wildlife. Did she ever have subscription, and when did it lapse? That's a good point. I'm sure we're going to find out. Nice to meet you, Monks. I'm hooked up with TR in the lab, but there's always room for another chat room. Wendy Reagan, would recommend it. As you just saw, he's a smart guy and very nice as well, as you can tell. Is there a chance he's waving foliage to get the attention of his partner who's inside? Partner's watching Nest Cam on app, then deletes later. Interesting point, Martha. I would never say never. I've learned enough in this business to keep it open. Monk, you did great. Thank you, Chris, for giving his perspective. He's another 10-pound brain. I know, right? Both Josh and Monks are 10-pound brains. No question about it. Love and Life became a YouTube member. Thank you, Love and Life. You're awesome. I really love Monks. Another channel to join. Yes, thank you. I love Monarchs. Isn't he? Isn't he great? He's just like Josh, I can tell you. I'm very picky, as you guys know. Karen and I are very picky who we invite on this show. What about Derek and Luke D and Kayla connection? Great point. We can't take them off the plate. There may be a Kayla connection somewhere, and the question's going to be who? Who's it going to be connected to? If Porch Guy took a flight, he's on camera. Totally agree. Totally agree. Facial recognition technology at the airport. Thank you, Pat. Super sticker. Compare truck prices. Book movers. Move smarter with Diddy Truck. There you go. That's a plug for Diddy Truck. Everybody got that? I'll keep it up here for a second. Your move just got easier. I love it. I love it. Thought you were going to Hawaii. Thrilled to see you tonight. Mainstream has become so dull. We're going to Hawaii. Don't worry. Put your seatbelts on. We're going to get you there. Awesome show. Thank you for being a member for 14 months. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. 1 month. Great show. Thank you, Sonny. Arizona. We sure appreciate that. And thank you, MZ Kenda 911. There's probably a dispatcher there. Chris, what's the channel email? It's down below. info@theinterviewroom at Proton Mail. You can reach me there and I will circle back with you. But always remember, we get tens of thousands of comments and emails on all these things. So if I don't answer you right away, please forgive me. Okay. But I try and I try the best I can. And as you guys know, sometimes I fall short. So that said, thank you, mods, for doing everything that you do. You guys are amazing. Keep Teresa. It's her birthday. Teresa's birthday's today, our mods. And so wish her a happy birthday and always like and subscribe. Continue to take care of one another. And as they say in Hawaii, be akamai. As they say in Japan, domo arigatou gozaimasu, which means thank you very much. And as they say in Chinese, sheshe, which means thank you. So I will see you on the next one. Aloha.
Hard working every day. I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me we're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a way.
Where did it go? The warmth and the smoke when we were standing in the parking lot. Your mother used to swear a lot. I got gum in my head, a crowd in my head, but you helped me filling in the blanks. I knew just where your mind was at, but guess whatever happens, happens. Now there's an awful lot of guessing. Say one thing we have in common. It's like my teeth just cannot stop it. I don't mind when suddenly comes small talk. Why the facade? To piecing apart back when your brother used to play guitar. We steal his songs and call them ours. Now gone, we got in between. Never closer than how you've been, and I question my own sanity. If none of it was ever real, 'cause guess whatever happens, happens. When did we stop knowing each other? Say one thing we have in common. It's like my teeth just cannot stop it. I don't mind when suddenly comes small talk. I don't mind when suddenly comes small talk. I don't mind when suddenly